Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We have finished our ACC football predictions, so today we're going to break down our projected records and projected ACC standings for the 2018 season. The ACC, like the SEC, was really straightforward and didn't have a whole lot of surprises. If you go ahead and look right off the bat, you can see that the division winners, Clemson and Miami, really don't have a whole lot of competition behind them in terms of the projected records and standings. Clemson having a 3-game lead over Florida State, and then Miami a 2-game lead over North Carolina. So the second place teams are pretty far away from the teams I have projected to win their divisions. And as always, I'm not going to go through and tell you who won and who lost against which teams. Go check out our videos for that. These are just a brief rundown and a brief summary of what all of our predictions that we did. So we'll start over here in the Atlantic. Clemson going 12-0, winning the Atlantic Division, of course. And Florida State and Boston College technically tied for second, but Florida State gets the nod over the Eagles because I have Florida State beating Boston College in the regular season. So they own the head-to-head tiebreaker there, even though they both have an 8-4 record and a 5-3 conference record. Louisville coming in at fourth, 7-5 there. No one really around them. They do have the same conference record as Florida State and Boston College, but have a worse overall record, so that means they're going to be fourth place there. North Carolina State and Wake Forest, both 6-6, 3-5 in conference, but I had the Wolfpack beating the Demon Deacons in the regular season, so they had the edge over there. And then Syracuse, I have just missing out on the bowl game, finishing last in the Atlantic with a 5-7 record. But it would not surprise me if they can jump to at least a 6-6 record, maybe even 7-5. And the same goes for a lot of these teams. I could even see North Carolina State getting a much better record than 6-6. I don't have a lot of faith in that defense right now. I know they should still be fairly solid, and I have a lot of faith in Ryan Finley. So it wouldn't surprise me to maybe see them get to 7 or 8 wins, but I'm going to keep them at 6-6 right now after the analysis that we did on them. And over here on the Coastal, we have Miami winning that division as well, 11-1, 7-1 overall, so another solid year for them. My only loss coming to Boston College in the regular season there, a big-time upset. North Carolina and Virginia Tech, second and third. North Carolina having a 1-game edge over Virginia Tech there. Duke, Pittsburgh, and Virginia Tech all having a 4-4 conference record. Virginia Tech owning the edge over both of those teams because they have a better overall record, and then Duke owning an edge over Pittsburgh because they have a better overall record. And Duke is also a team, kind of like North Carolina State, where I could certainly see them getting to 7 or 8 wins. Right now I had them at 6-6 just because of the schedule that they have. It's a pretty brutal schedule, but they have a lot of talent there, so they can pull off some upsets, especially on the road. It would not surprise me to see Duke reach 7 or 8 wins because they certainly have a lot of talent there. But right now, have them finishing 4th in the Coastal Division with a 6-6 record. Pittsburgh and Georgia Tech both have a 5-7 record, but Georgia Tech 2 games behind the Panthers in the conference standings. In terms of their conference records, so I have them second to last there. And then Virginia rounding out the Coastal Division with a 3-9 record, 0-8 in the ACC. I know that might be a little bold. I know that might not exactly happen, but if you look at the talent that Virginia brings in this year, they don't have a lot on the offensive side of the ball. They have a lot on the defensive side of the ball, and the schedule is fairly tough. I just don't see Virginia having the year they had last year, getting back to a bowl game for the first time since 2011. I think it's going to be another down year for Bronco Mendenhall and the Cavaliers. So really, like I said, this is a fairly straightforward set of conference standings here. Like I said, no crazy tiebreakers, no really bold predictions there. Some people think Florida State could beat Clemson, but even if they did, Clemson would be 7-1 and Florida State would be 6-2. So it'd be a 1-game difference there. Clemson was still on the edge. So even if you throw in a couple upsets in there over the top dogs like Clemson and Miami, they would still have an edge over the guys in second and third place. So nothing too crazy there, which means I have a rematch of the ACC championship from last year. Clemson facing off against Miami, and I think that's to be expected. I think those are by far the 2 dominant teams in the ACC. Last year, Miami getting beat in that game, I think it was 38-3. And they were coming off that loss to Pittsburgh in the season finale. I don't think their mind was in the right place. They had a couple injuries. So I think this year, this game is a lot closer. It's not as big of a blowout as it was last year. But I still think that Clemson wins the ACC. It's still undefeated, obviously going to the college football playoff, and could very well have a number 1 seed like they did last year. I just don't see Miami beating Clemson this year. I don't see anybody beating, in the ACC at least, beating Clemson this year with the type of defense they're going to have. Defense does, in fact, win championships. They are going to be stacked on that side of the ball, and I have a lot of faith in their offense as well, regardless of who's at quarterback. Even if they have some struggles at quarterback, they have enough supporting cast around them with their running backs and their wide receivers and a solid offensive line that they can still have a lot of success. So I have Clemson over Miami in the ACC championship game, but it will be closer than that 38-3 game that we saw just last year. So this is the projected standings for the ACC for the 2018 season. Go check out our individual videos for every single one of these teams to see who they lose to and a little more analysis on each one. It really explains how this thing works out, and it'll make a lot more sense once you listen to the analysis on all of these teams. But overall, that's what we've got. Clemson over Miami for the ACC title. So as always, please go check us out on Twitter at Gridiron Expert and on Instagram at The Gridiron Expert, and always here on YouTube. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on The Gridiron Expert.